What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue Podcast. I got Mike here, who's here sometimes. I got Chris here, who's more regular like a poop. And we're going to do some Q&A stuff today. We got a variety of questions from training to breast milk to business and how shitty customer service is and how dumb people are sometimes. So I think we'll start with speed training with bands, like Jump Stretch bands, Elite FTS sells bands.
You've got new bands here
from Elite FTS
that are aggressive.
If you need bands, EliteFTS.com, WestsideBarbell.com is probably your best places to get them.
Are they about the same? Do they have like the same models, you think? Like the same tension approach?
The same tension. There's different colors.
Yeah. Okay.
Louis kind of popularized it. Jump Stretch kind of started it with Dick Hartzell back in the day. Louis took them, started putting them on bars. A lot of people do reverse bands for like a lighten method. But we're going to talk more about bands from the ground. So whether you're deadlifting, squatting, benching.
Speed work or max or any.
I was asked kind of about speed work.
We could probably do both though. Really.
Max effort. So the idea of bands and chains are very similar in some of it because they both train the strength curve all the way through, right? Because we're all stronger. We can all quarter squat way more than we can full squat. We can all, board press more than we can fully bench press for the most part. So the idea of like chains and bands for that aspect they're going to, change the strength curve because the band tension will increase. And so will the chains. The weight of the chains will increase as you get closer to a lockout.
I know you could like simplify this conversation depending on the exact topic, but I have used bands, and I'm not unique in this, in like microcycles of doing speed work. And for example, the last 2 months, I've taken 3-week waves at a time and have had the same band tension and then increased straight weight. And then after that is done, after a 3-week cycle, I've added more band tension and then went through the same process again with straight weight, adding more straight weight, right? And that is a kind of a safe way to build against more weights than it is taking just straight weight all the time, especially if you train pressing a couple times a week. But bands and chains, like for deadlifting, for example, and this is kind of a question for you really, is I've always felt that if you have bands on a deadlift, they keep you in position better than it is if you have just straight weight or chains on the bar.
It'll definitely, if you have a band over the bar, it'll pull you into position. Because if you let that weight get out in front of you at all, or you get off center at all.
You know when you're missing. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll pull you wherever it's going to go because the bands are always going to stay basically centered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to center the bar.
I mean, I've found success, too, like tracking PRs, for example, on speed work, and then eventually maybe, I know this is not speed work, but maybe a top single after doing that, and then finding a PR with a certain added band tension that I haven't touched before, right? I mean, you have to be creative finding PRs sometimes when you're elder.
Well, I mean, in PRs in general, like you can go from, a barbell with chains, a barbell with bands. I mean, those are all different PRs. I think sometimes you run into that because you're not, let's say, because it also depends on how you measure band tension.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to truly, really truly test a PR and you measure the band tension at your chest versus at lockout, that's two very different weights.
Oh, yeah.
So say you're benching 225 and you have 100 pounds of band tension at the top. That doesn't mean you're going to bench 325. Now, if you have 100 pounds of band tension at your chest and then you lock it out, you're probably going to bench 325, if not more.
Yeah.
But I think that's where people mess up in some of their measurements.
I also think on the bench when you're doing speed work with bands specifically, you have to firmly lock out and training that last inch or two, locking out all the way. That really teaches you. I mean, a lot of guys, if they don't miss on their chest, they miss at the very top just barely, and then it comes crashing down because they haven't built up that last inch or two, you know?
Well, it's the tricep, the whole lockout idea. And so that's where I think you can use bands, like as far as, like I said, this whole training the entire strength curve from top to bottom. You know what I mean? That's why the bands are great, because they reduce at the bottom, increase at the top. So it's going to be a greater amount of tension. Just like if you use a band for tricep extensions, that band tension is going to get greater at lockout, where you're probably the weakest. Then it will.
I never used bands for bench because I was always strong at the lockout and weak off the chest. So I would always try to train the weak off the chest stuff, floor presses and dumbbells and stuff like that. I never used bands for that.
Did you ever do speed work?
I never did speed work either because I felt
On any lift? Or
I only did speed work on deadlift, never for bench. And the only time I did speed work was if I just had a lightweight. I never used actual bands for speed work. I would just try to feel like, you know, you're tensioning the spring up, and then boom, you know, you get once you hit the chest and you fire off.
I've heard that too. Like if you don't have access to, like I travel for work, right? Sometimes I have to train in commercial gyms, or if I'm not bringing a certain amount of equipment. I'm better about it now. Like I'll bring bands with me if I know I'm going to bench when I'm out or whatever. But I, you know, give or take, just put, if you're doing speed work and you're on the road and you don't have bands, 75% straight weight for singles is probably an okay bet to do that for that week, you know?
That's what I was always too lazy to set the bands up, honestly. I'm like, oh, all right, you got to do math. You know, math's tough. You know, thinking about how much weight we got. Oh, whatever. I'll just go a little faster than I usually do on this and use less weight.
And you can. I mean,
Yeah.
some of that you can, but some people run it way too light, and then it's kind of, you know, like Louis was talking about, is trying to throw a wiffle ball through a window, right? You're never going to, it doesn't really, it's got diminishing returns. So, I mean, for the longest time, they did like 50% bar weight and then just like doubled red mini bands.
Yeah.
And that was their speed work.
Yeah.
In which you should be able to do 3 reps in the time you can do 1 max effort rep, was like the idea of it.
You know, that's the other thing, too. Comparing the max effort and speed work with accommodating resistance is really, like the speed work, the dynamic work should be hard at the end of your, 8 sets, 12 sets, whatever.
Oh, yeah, 'cause you should be
have
moving.
been.
You should be moving through the whole time.
Your sets are closer together, right? 45 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, right? Whatever that looks like. And it's work. I mean, just because it's 50% on the bar with doubled red bands, it can turn into serious work.
Yeah, because you should be moving through your sets. I mean, if you're working out with somebody, it should basically be enough time to change the weight,
Yep.
and that's all it is. But now with speed work, you get it a little bit different than a max effort, because you can do chains on speed work, and we've did chains in the past. But chains are more of, you're trying to almost outrun the chains on the way up.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In your head, you're trying to visually and mentally try to outrun the chains for the speed work. Where bands will actually provide like an overspeed eccentric. They'll pull you down faster than the speed of gravity. Right? So you're going to build that reversal strength, because all that energy stores in your tendons and ligaments, because it can't be destroyed. It has to go somewhere. So you're going to build that into reversal strength. You lose some into the box if you box squat, because anytime there's a collision, you'll destroy energy. That's like the physics of the whole idea. But, if it's pulling you down at 3 feet per second, you should be able to come back up at 3 feet per second. Is the idea, if not more. We used to do just straight band weight, and we would put like 700 pounds of band tension. But I mean, you were flying. Like, it's bringing you down, and you're coming right back up. But that's where you get with the bands versus chains, is the overspeed eccentric, and it builds great reversal strength that way.
Yeah.
For the speed work. But the problem is bands will also ground you. So if all you do is
My
squat with
point,
bands all the
position,
time,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So if all you do is squat with bands all the time, and then you go to a meet and it's the first time I had bands off, it's going to feel terrible, because you're completely stabilized by the bands.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just, if I'm doing even just rep work, I'll put bands on a front squat just to keep it racked better on my body. It holds in place better.
Yeah, it'll force you into better positions. But on a front squat, if you don't stay tight, it'll also rip the bar off of you,
Yeah.
which also isn't like the worst idea ever. And like with chains, most people set the chains up wrong anyway. Like when you squat, there should be like 3 or 4 links on the ground, because it's not a stability exercise. You're not trying to stop the weight from swinging. And you want it to fully deload when you squat to the ground. When you start on a bench, half the chain should be on the ground before you start. So when you come down, it fully deloads. And I'd have people like argue with me. I used to tell people all the time at the gym, oh, this is the way you should do it. Well, I don't know why you do it that way. And I go, I don't know. When I went to Westside and trained, that's what Louis told me to do. I don't know what else you might tell you.
Tell Yoda he's wrong.
Yeah.
I always like using the chains on the deadlifts just because it sounds cool. You know?
Oh, I love that.
it does
Yeah.
until you fucking slam the plates on the chains, and it rolls back and
Oh,
slams
I've
into
done
your
that
shin.
too. That slice you right open. Well, I
But-
mean, I do both too sometimes, right? Like I could
You do
again-
chains and band. I mean, there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with any of the accommodating resistance. That's why if you look at most like Nautilus machines or most machines, they have that little half wheel where whether it's a cable or a belt on the machines, is odd shaped, because that keeps the tension the same all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why Nautilus machines got so popular, because whoever that dude was figured it out. Like, I can't just put a pulley here because it's not going to be the same. If I'm going to do a chest press on the Cybex machine, that pulley has to roll however it rolls out
Yeah,
to
I
make the
didn't- I didn't
tensions.
know that actually. That's
I never thought about that either. That's a good point. I know what you're talking about now that you say that,
yeah,
though.
for real,
when you
yeah.
look at the,
Yeah, most of them are. Some of them aren't, and you're just like we have a shoulder press machine here that's just like a fucking cable. That machine's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, most of the time it's got a different sized like half wheel to keep the tension the same way all the way through.
Do you always? I guess. Do you always have speed work in your training, just personally? You?
When I trained for me, I always had speed work.
I think it helps recovery too,
I mean, it's blood flow work to an
and
extent.
it's practice. It's batting practice. You know.
Well, yeah, we always said that, like with squats, if you're doing 10 sets of 2 or 12 sets of 2, that's 12 picks off the rack to make sure you're tight and right. 12 first reps, and then 12 squats. Well, more than 12 because you're doing doubles. So you're doing 24. So you get all that practice. Same way with bench.
Yeah.
Because we used to do 3 grips, 9
Yeah.
sets of 3, and your speed should be moving. In deadlift, they used to do only like 5 singles. Used to be
Yeah.
their speed work way back in the day. And then later on in West Side history, Louis changed it to like 5 sets of 5 on squat because he said everybody was too lazy and they'd fuck around too long.
I do think that anybody that's curious about how to use bands, you could start by doing rep work. Just say throw a plate on there, or 95 pounds on the bar, right? Put a red band on there that's doubled, and just do reps and see how it feels. There's nothing wrong with doing reps with bands either. I think that there's like a connotation around if there's band tension on there, it has to be just fast. Like you can start playing around with it to see how it feels, and then program it in, singles and doubles and triples and things too.
Yeah, you can use bands in any kind of work. I always test run it. Like if you're going to squat or bench with it, like be slow taking it out of the rack so you know what the bands feel like, because it's
Yeah.
going to pull you wherever it needs to be.
They also kind of get in place right after you unrack it. They kind of get in place and everything's right.
But you can do all kinds of stuff. We did those deadlifts with bands from the front pulling the bar forward that knocked you forward because you're weak. But you can do stuff like deadlift with bands from the front only to work on getting your hips through and pulling the bar back into you.
Yeah.
You can do squats with bands on the front of the rack to make sure you keep your back positioning tight. That
done-
gets kind of tricky because you can start to actually lean into the bands if you know how to
Yeah.
cheat the system a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I've set up even overhead pressing on the deadlift platform with a log with bands.
Yeah, I've
And
seen
that was-
people do cleans that way too.
Yeah, and that was really, it wasn't necessarily a speed work thing. It could have been. There could have been some benefits there, but really it was like at lockout a stability thing. I was having some troubles locking out.
Yeah, I mean overhead press is a squat for the upper body.
So, I mean, like building it that way, you could use bands for so much shit.
We use it all the time. You can use it on a bench, so you learn how to engage your lats. Have it around the back of the bench, so when you pull the bar out,
Yeah.
you can set your lats in place to lock in and hold the weight. And then I like to talk about, like, there's reverse bands, which that's just going to lighten the load. Like, on the way down, it's going to make the bar lighter at your chest than it is at lockout. It's another way to train lockout. I know, like, Rick Hussey at Big Iron trained that a lot. They did a lot of reverse band stuff for
Builds confidence too, though.
feeling weight in your hands. There's something to that, feeling weight in your hands. I mean, similar idea. Bands the other way from the bottom. Even if you do it at the top, if it's 300 pounds of band tension and you have 500 on the bar, I mean, you have 800 pounds when you're standing there
Yeah.
that you have to learn to stabilize.
Yeah.
Now, by the time you get to the box, it's probably only like 700,
Less, yeah.
650-ish. And there are charts out there. You can also get like luggage scales, crane scales to check your tensions.
There's a
Good.
luggage scale at Walmart that I got. It's $15, and it's like runs on a single AA,
Yeah.
and the band tension goes up to 150. So it's really compact. So again, even if you're traveling, pack bands. You can throw a luggage scale in your carry on if you're But then the only problem is when you're training like in a commercial gym, you have to set up like heavy dumbbells to hold the bands, and it's
Yeah.
kind of a shit show
Yeah.
versus having good equipment like an Omaha barbell where you can connect bands and it's safe. But yeah, could be some danger involved.
I remember when you check the tensions, check the tension to where you lifted the bar to. Don't just like pull it like 3 inches and be like, oh, it's this, because it'll go. But actually, a band will eventually top out where it won't have any more tension. And after a while, you need to replace your bands because they'll lose tension. Even if they don't get all tore up, they'll eventually lose tension. Th'll stretch out like the elastic in your underoos.
They hang like the sleeve of a wizard.
Yeah.
Oh, sleeve up
Ropes.
wizard.
So yeah, I think bands are a great training tool, but they are not. Just because you squatted, 300 with 300 pounds of band tension at the top does not mean you're a 600 squatter.
Not even close.
It does not transverse over to that. But now, if you keep track of your training right, you can figure those things out.
Yep.
If you squatted 300 pounds of tension, 300 pounds of bar weight, and you went to a meet and squatted 450, now you know. Everything's a constant building block of how it is. But bands, if you're not ready, bands will fuck you up though too. Your nervous system, like it's a lot more on you.
I think your joint, like unracking the bench, for example, in this example, the question, my elbows, I feel so much pressure in them with bands,
Yeah.
tons.
And check your bands to make sure they're not fucked up because you don't want to be benching or deadlifting,
And blow one of them out.
blow one of them out.
Yeah.
Die.
I mean, that's how you're going to get hurt, fucking pinned under a weight. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's a good answer for that question overall. I think they're a good tool. Learn what they are. EliteFTS.com I'm sure they still do somewhere on their site, had a band chart.
They do. At the end of every...
But make sure you read the bottom where it says these bands were noosed around a 6x6
like they're
base,
choked at a
blah,
4x4
blah. Yeah, choked
post.
around.
Yeah.
And look at that. And look how setups are. Because if you're, like, we double a band on a bench is different than it being, you loop it around the band pegs and run single band up through and hook it up. That is not the same.
Yeah, at the bottom there should still be tension. If it could like wiggle off the bar at the bottom, then you don't have it set up correctly.
Yes, you need tension at the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
But I think they used to say, like, what did Westside say? If you were a 400 and below bench or 450 and below, you use the mini bands. And if you were above that, you use like monster mini bands. But like, just don't get stupid. You need to be fast. If you're doing speed work, it needs to be fast. You don't need to do like a Tendo unit or a power meter. You should know if it's fast, but also know if it's light. Like I think later on Westside switched to like 30% or something like that, or 40% on their
On the bar.
on their benches, yeah. And then squats they always waived like a 50, 55, 60 or 55, 65, 60, 65, whatever it was. I mean, they used to go crazy. They used to go up to like 82.5% was their top wave for speed work plus bands.
They probably don't even have bands at the gym you train at, Chris, because you don't train here.
I have bands in my house.
That maker dance.
Yeah.
Nice.
Elite FTS. Is where
What
I
do you
got
use them
mine.
for? You say you don't use bands. Like
Usually,
for yoga and stretching.
yeah.
Okay.
Warm up with my shoulders, before I bench. I don't use
you're
bands.
serious.
I am serious. Thank you.
I mean, if you travel and you can't get to a gym, bands are actually
Oh,
really
yeah.
great.
They're not
for
very
that.
well. I bought them a long time ago, and they lasted. I mean, since I'm the only one that uses them, they last a long time.
Yeah, if you have a gym where people treat them like shit and don't care because it's not theirs.
Yeah, it's
They
a
don't
lot.
last
It's a
near as long.
little different. Yeah,
Well, that's the other thing too is
they're great for mobility work. If
Yeah.
you buy those big monster bands, you can wrap
hanging.
them around. Yeah, you can wrap them around there and get your hip. Do all kinds of stuff to get ready for squatting.
Yeah, there's tons of like just like band only workouts you can do if you're traveling between, pull aparts, rows, tricep extensions, front raises.
Put them on the bench so you don't slide when you're benching.
Yeah.
If you got a shitty bench.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but if there's a brand new bench, like say here, you don't need to put them on there because you look like an idiot then.
Yeah. Don't do that here because all the benches here you'll stick to.
Not every 90.
I'm talking for traveling and commercial gym wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even here, not every 90% bench attempt requires band tension and your shirt off and a 3-board to film yourself.
Also true.
I mean, it's got to go up a little bit with the shirt off, right? I mean,
It helps. It does help.
Yeah, it probably does
But
help.
usually I'm fat like that in my basement because I'm a
Yeah.
gentleman in public.
Yeah, I mean, if you have your shirt off and it's chilly and you got a hard nippy and you're touching your nips, it's gonna cut your motion down.
Yeah. You got to have heat. You have to have muscular.
It's like extra calories.
Temperature has to be higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like that old saying: abs at 123 is not that impressive. Abs at 240 is way more impressive.
Yep.
So you're trying to say if you're 240 and you have abs and your shirt's off in the gym, no one's going to say anything to you. But if
Yes.
you're 140 and you have abs,
How about if you're
everyone's-
140 and don't have abs? And you have your shirt off in the gym?
That's actually better.
just
Yeah.
please
you're
leave your shirt on.
you're really lame at that.
If I was
point.
coaching someone that did that and they sent me the video, I'd be like, just put your shirt on, bro. You're making you and my training look fucking terrible right now. Put your shit back on. Look like fucking idiots out here. Oh man. All right. We had another question about breast milk. It's
I
actually
think
been a
that's-
weird question over the years because people
Yeah.
have. I've heard some people say it's illegal, but it's not because it's considered like a raw milk, which you can buy raw milk, raw cow milk in Nebraska. I mean, you can't buy it at a store.
So I kind of know a thing or two about that.
I did a little research on it,
Oh, you did?
on the breast milk thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It protein-wise, cow milk has more protein, but the calcium in breast milk is a higher, and I think it's a higher amount, and its absorption is better.
Tanner's gonna edit this, and he's gonna like call in one day and be
That's
like,
why we don't have a phone.
"This is wrong."
But now I have never personally experienced breast milk because I think it'd also be awkward to drink another woman's breast milk that's not your wife or baby mama
That experience, though,
Or your mom.
or your mom. Yeah. Oh my God, how old is he? He's 48 months. That's 4. So what's your experience with the breast milk? But you don't.
No,
I
I
don't
mean,
even know
really-
if I want to hear what he has to say. But let's just go for it.
we're gonna lead into it. But actually, I was gonna say, Pain and Gain made that conversation popular. The movie. When
Oh, yeah.
what's his name's the black guy that was with Mark Wahlberg, his buddy,
Yeah.
that was talking to The Rock about if he drank titty milk, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But that is, I don't know if it still is. It could still be a thing in like the bodybuilding community to consider that, but I don't. It's so I don't know. But what's really interesting is when Courtney was pregnant, and then the milk really starts to come in after the baby, right? Breast milk is a good time. It's generally a good time, but
I don't understand what good time means, and I don't know if I
you want me to
find.
yeah,
I don't know that I want to know.
It's a
but-
good time.
I don't even know what that means.
It
Like, were you drinking it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like
Not
a-
like out of a bottle, but like, out of her. Why not? Yeah.
Actually, yes. Why not? I don't.
It's just I don't know. It's a kind of a beautiful thing, and you're like, whoa. Like when they, so if like the baby's crying or whatever, like they will start to, they have it's called a letdown, right? They have a letdown. The milk starts to come in.
Like you being their dad is a letdown.
Oh, fuck, I know, right?
Scoot
And-
over, kid. I got to get in here.
Yeah. So that's always the joke, but not like I joke, but I'm being serious. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna let me get a hit of that when you're done here. Like, haha, okay. I'm serious. I'm like,
So the baby and your wife think you're a fucking weirdo.
oh yeah, totally, probably, yeah. But it's everyone's kind of always curious about like what it tastes like. It's sweet, like formula versus mom's milk is really different, and actually the bioavailability of breast milk versus formula.
Yeah, he
is-
learned that word last week.
is
Everybody.
very
So
different, and that's why when these babies have formula bottles, they shit their pants like a 450-pound power lifter. It's gross and it smells terrible. But mom's milk is totally different, and they have regular shits, and they're not gassy all the time. So there's something to be said about how it affects like their body. But where I was going with this is that the amount of calcium that's in breast milk at the end of every week as a baby's developing through the early months, it's as dense as a penny, like an actual penny. That's how much calcium they're receiving from breast milk, and that's taking directly away from mom's bones. It's a really wild thing.
So basically, the baby's giving the mama osteoporosis.
Yeah, they're total. Absolutely, yeah, totally. So that's why they have to eat more.
Another reason kids are the worst.
They have to. So moms have to eat more to make milk and all that stuff. But I don't think that it's ever.
But
been,
now that penny part, like you said, a penny. But what's the comparison to like regular like cow milk?
I don't know. I don't know. I know that so my kids specifically, the responsiveness to cow's milk when they were at least younger was really bad. Even my brother's kid had such a bad reaction to it. Like blood was filling up in her belly. Like it was like from the cow's the response to the cow's milk. Right? Didn't know that she was allergic to it, stuff like that. But I'm not against milk, like cow's milk. Like I don't, but I don't really drink it as much as I used to. But I'm not against it. Like if you had a milkshake or something, like fuck, I'll drink it. Right? I don't care. I'm not avoiding it, but I don't really actively buy regular milk anymore. But the whole thing with breast milk, if you're trying to pursue that as a supplement, I think that's weird. I do think it's very strange.
That's super weird because I think actually they encourage moms that are maybe not breastfeeding but still producing to donate because there's some moms who can't. But then I don't know if that's weird too. Like your kid is drinking someone else's breast milk.
Not really.
Because it's almost like a bonding thing, right?
All things considered, the best thing would be the best of all scenarios would be mom can breastfeed comfortably and with a lot of production for this kid to grow.
Sure.
Right, that's the best option. The other option is, going straight to formula and avoiding breast milk entirely. And people do that for all kinds of circumstances. I'm not saying they're terrible people. I'm just saying the benefit of natural breast milk is better than formula.
So even if it's not your breast milk.
Yeah, even if it's not yours. Yeah, it could be. But here's the problem, though, is if you don't know the person that you're getting it from, like the diseases and things like that you can receive from it.
Well, that's why they
very
say it's not regulated
sketchy.
because you don't know.
That's why that part is essentially illegal. But if you've got a family friend or a close friend and they're donating or whatever, like that's actually a lot more common, I think, than people realize that have kids.
I think as far as breast milk pertains to the podcast, though, it's weird.
Yeah, the
Like
supplementation
I don't think
is stupid.
I don't think anybody who's lifting is going to get any benefits from buying breast milk on.
I just think that breast milk is interesting for how much it can grow a kid. Like it's really wild. It really is. But for like a grown man or woman,
Yeah, I don't think
if you're just like buying it from somebody and you're like, oh man, I feel jacked when I drink.
I don't
the
think
breast
it's
milk.
worth it as far as like the strangeness of it.
yeah,
Plus if they want to donate it to someone else who wants to give their baby breast milk and maybe they can't produce. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's a better cause
absolutely.
than fucking.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get the gains, so I'm taking fucking breast milk.
I will tell you
Gross.
though, had I been a woman, I wouldn't care. I'd
You
make
can
a lot. Fair. Actually,
Yeah,
wait,
you
can
be.
wait, what year
Yes.
is it? Hey, look at your watch. What year is it?
It's 2023.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I could do that now.
You can do whatever you want.
Somebody told me that in 2020, 2021, and 2022. This has been a real run of doing whatever the fuck I want.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I told everybody I was an elite powerlifter and a millionaire, and they didn't believe any of it.
How
Yeah.
dare they?
Yeah.
I believe you.
They
How
said prove it,
dare
and
they?
I said I don't
know.
have to.
Show me
yeah.
your pay stub. Yeah, my world title belt. That's
Yeah.
it. Just hanging up on the wall.
Yeah, I don't have them. I gave them all away at the meet.
That was a good trophy.
That was a good trophy. I mean, I copied it, but it's whatever.
Stole it. Stole
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no one's ever
from-
come up
wait,
with that idea before.
Wait, from wrestling, from worldwide.
Or from like the
WWF?
80s in boxing. Or
Well,
like
wrestling
in the
predates
80s
all
and 70s.
sports.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Let's
exactly.
have belts in boxing.
No, I know, but I'm saying who did it first, wrestling or boxing?
Oh, that's a good question. I think boxing.
Greco-Roman wrestling probably had it back in the day.
Well, maybe. I mean,
Hey, Jamie, look that up.
WWE had it in fucking 1980, 1980?
I love Ric Flair.
Let's Google it.
The Nature Boy.
I love him.
He spends more on spilt liquor than you make in a year.
I love him, dude. He's so cool.
I don't know how he still have him and Ozzy Osbourne are fucking medical marvels.
You know, he.
And Keith Richards, but
Oh man, he's got a really good podcast. Ric Flair interviews a couple. Well, not he doesn't own them, but he's been on a few. Now he's like he works with Mike Tyson in that THC industry. It's pretty crazy. Like, could you imagine walking in a room and you're like, oh, Dennis Rodman, Ric Flair, and Mike Tyson are just smoking a joint,
and they're business
and
partners.
and they're partners. Like, oh man, the stories.
Yeah. What do you got over there? What did you look up? When did belts become prizes?
I Googled who came up with championship belts.
Is it someone from Omaha?
The first belt was given as a prize for accomplishments within the ring was presented in 1810 by King George to a bare knuckle boxer.
Oh, that's gangster.
But
Really?
that's way different than who I thought did it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. Do they have a picture? Well, they probably don't have a picture.
No.
A drawing of
It's
it.
probably just like a regular belt.
Drawing.
The
Yeah,
guy's
it's
pants
a
are
leather
probably falling
belt.
down. He's
The
probably-
first belt with the real buckle.
Yeah, King George took his belt off and just gave it to him. Like, well, that's all we got. The
No
scepter,
shit.
the scepter and the jewels are mine. You can have the fucking belt.
That's pretty cool. What year? 18 what? 10?
1810.
Man, that's cool as fuck.
That's
Bare
great.
knuckle
That's a hell
boxer
of a sport,
Tom
dude.
Cribb.
I mean, it wasn't everything bare knuckle then. Did they even have gloves then? Didn't they slap each other with a
They
glove
had
and then
win-
say,
win-
"We'll fight
winter
now"?
gloves.
Yes. I challenge you to a duel.
To a duel.
Dude, that's a wild sport. What else you got?
We got
Okay.
passing out in a deadlift.
Done it.
So there could be a lot of things. One, your pull is taking way too long and too slow, which is where speed work would help.
Nice. I see what you did there.
Yeah, whether it's with bands or not.
Good transition.
Blood pressure.
Also, that could be your blood pressure. Usually your nose will bleed though before you pass out. I think sometimes you get it where you get pulled forward. Like if you ever seen somebody pass on a squat, you'll see the bar shift and they'll actually roll forward, and it'll kind of pinch off their fucking ability to breathe a little bit.
Weird.
So if you're forward and your arms are extended, I mean, if your ribs can't expand, you can't breathe really, to an extent. You know what I mean? So that can be part of it. So your chest is dropping, could be part of it, dropping too much. I mean, I had my fucking hands above my head taking a TV down, almost passed out.
Well trained.
Yeah, I was.
Don't you want a
This
gym?
Yeah, no, because I think after, and this is where after you, if you have any, this isn't just like look how cool I am. If you have any size and structure in your shoulders, traps,
Oh, you're kinda
and your chest, when
yeah.
you put your arms above your head, it starts to pinch off
Yeah, sure.
your blood. And so I was helping my dad take a TV mount down, and I stopped, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm fucking pass out, dude. We gotta fucking chill out for a second." But yeah, it'll actually start to pinch off like that carotid artery because
I mean, have you passed out?
I've never passed out lifting
Have you?
before.
I've never passed out.
But
I
I-
always see white.
but
I
I'm
always
pretty-
see stars.
I've
and
got
You're
tunnel
close.
vision.
I
That's
feel.
close.
I feel it happening.
I've gotten tunnel vision. You know, like we were talking about, if your vision starts to close in, just fucking ask the spotters to help you.
Or, yeah,
Don't go
if
tell
you're-
you. No one's a fucking hero for passing out.
If you're deadlifting, I think that rep's over now. If you feel it, just let the bar go.
Yeah, no spotters like God.
Unless
I hope he
you're
passes out so I can catch this.
Oh, fuck. Unless
You know?
you're strapped into a deadlift and you feel come down, you're fucked.
Dude, that happened to a kid here one time. He fucking got
saw it.
stuck.
I've
He
seen
had
it a few
figure 8
times.
wraps on and fucking passed
Yep.
out in the rack and just stuck there. Until I woke back up.
Dude, I saw this girl do a front flip damn near off her, like over her. She was in a suit. I can't remember her name, but she pulled 600 in a suit. World's Strongest Woman 2 years ago. Lives in Texas now, but she was in a suit, figure 8 straps, locks the bar out. You can see her just go like green, and then drops the bar, sinks forward, and kind of like Liu Kang knockout type shit in Mortal Kombat, just fucking finish him, standing there. And she's still strapped in, and she just fucking dips forward, and her head breaks her fall, and like turns her
Good.
neck sideways. And she's also in the suit, so she's really constrained. She can't like get a leg in front of her, you know what I mean? So she just hit it like face first. It's crazy, man. Like that stuff is violent.
That's the only time during deadlifts is the only time where I feel like I passed out, almost passed out. Squatting, every time you go for a squat, you're always fighting for your life. So
So I would say the best way to squat's out of fear.
yes, you're fighting for your life, and I always have good breathing discipline when I squat. Deep, big belly breath. Then as I'm going up, I'm trying to let it out, so I don't
Don't
pass
let it out on the way up. Just
Well,
sit
you know
tight.
what I mean. When you get to the top, I'm trying to let it out.
Yeah.
Like after you're locked out, you're
Yeah,
trying to stay
but
braced.
Yeah.
that's the whole. But if I start feeling like I'm gonna, then I'm I'm gonna start breathing again, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just hit the safeties and let it go.
Yeah.
You know.
But if you can avoid the pass out, like if you're deadlifting, just let go of the bar.
I've only got. So you don't really have a pass out story?
No,
Like
some of it could be your belt could be too tight. Now remember, your belt should not be fucking hard to buckle.
Yeah,
You
we
should be able to
talked
fit
about
your
that.
hand in between your belt and your belly.
To breathe into it.
Yeah, you're gonna take a deep breath into that belt. The belt is just a support mechanism. It's not holding your fucking body together.
You don't want to not be able to breathe when you're wearing
Yes,
your belt.
that's why- and I
That's how
don't-
you're gonna pass out.
Yeah, or you just don't wear a belt and be a man like me. But a lot of people do. I get it.
I didn't wear a belt today, deadlifting.
Yeah, I didn't wear one squatting either.
Nice.
But yeah, you got to be able to breathe. If you pinch that belt on tight, You're not going to be able
I've-
to breathe. Like you're just going to restrict your airflow, which is going to make you pass out.
I've passed out twice and had a really, really hard time recovering once that I thought I was going to continuously pass out for about 30 minutes. But the first time was, and you already know the story, and there's a video on YouTube's, but the first time I trained with Clint Darden in Kentucky, I went there to visit him, and we had plans to, really didn't know what the plans were. We were going to log press, we were going to do some strongman events, deadlift, do other things, and I traveled to Kentucky from Omaha, and a couple flights along the way because there was nothing direct, and I left really early, and I had coffee in the morning, kind of shitty food early. I landed, I did some stuff for work, and he lives in Greece, well, Cyprus, Greece, but he was born, grew up in Kentucky, right? So to visit him, I landed. I'm like, hey, when are we going to train? And we kind of agreed loosely on its time in the early afternoon. So I get done with this work thing, and I have like a Reign or some high caffeinated pre-workout thing, right? And I crush that thing, and I'm like super excited to go train. And he's like, hey, we're behind a couple hours, and I had already finished this thing, right? He's like, we're behind a couple hours. We're gonna put the kids to bed and do this, that, and the other, and then we'll meet you at the house, and then we'll drive over to the gym. So all right, well, I can wait. So I finish that, and so I stop and I eat some food, and I'm hydrating, I'm doing all that shit, and a couple hours goes by, and I'm kind of like no longer high on caffeine, but I'm still excited to train, but I'm no longer high on caffeine. So
Crashed.
I really start to.
Yeah.
So I get to his house, and we're talking, and another like 30 minutes of bullshitting and stuff. Then we get in the car, and we drive over there, and now between the time I finished my first drink, by the time I got to the gym, is like 5 hours, right? And I, again, had been up since like 4 a.m. So now it's like 6 o'clock in the evening, right? 5 or 6, in the evening. And we get to the gym, and as we're warming up and doing shit, like, he's like setting up cameras, and like he's putting on gear, and he's doing all this stuff. And I start drinking another pre-workout, right? Like another Reign, like another 600. Or
Without
another,
eating?
Yeah, without any food. The last
Yeah.
food I had was like again at noon when I thought I was getting ready to train. But I was so excited to train and like to spend time with him and his family. And we get there, and there's these two other guys that live in Murray, Kentucky, strong as fuck. Both really, they end up becoming really high-level strongman athletes from the amateur into like open and then winning nationals and stuff. Just awesome dudes. And so we all train together, and we're getting ready to log press, and I'm new to the strongman sport, and I'm working on a bunch of things, and we start warming up, and I'm just hot. I'm just super fucking hot, and I'm just sweating out of my forehead without doing much, like, that like dehydrated sweat, like I'm just getting ready to die. And it was fucking Kentucky, and it was in this like dungeon gym, and it was so hot and humid, like the seriously, no shit, like the water on the wall, you could see it like building up on the walls. It was so humid in there. Anyway, we get to log pressing, boom, 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 couple warm up reps, doing shit like that, and I had a sight on like a 5:10 log press PR, right? And again, at that point, my technique was like poor, and I was just kind of muscling through a lot of shit, and figuring out the sport and all this. But we didn't work on that. We were just training hard. So we cranked up the fans in there. We had ammonia going and all that stuff, which didn't also help. And I'm like an addict to ammonia, right? And I'm hitting that between warm-up sets. I'm like, oh, it's a fucking long day, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're just, just laughing and stuff. And I go, like, I lap one of the logs, and I'm like, ooh, man, all right. So then I get up I clean it, and I start to, like, take baby staggering steps to kind of keep my balance, and I'm like feeling lightheaded, but I still feel aware enough that I could be accurate on the push press. And then I press and I miss it, like halfway up, it comes back down. So my chest, I try to reset, and as I reset, I'm starting to close my eyes, and I start to push press, and my eyes are shutting down, and I let go of the log handles, and I fucking punch inside the log, and it comes down and hits me in the head. And it bounces off my chest, and I remember coming to after I took a couple steps back, like towards like the back wall, And all Clint and his buddies are doing, oh, I got that on camera. That's fucking awesome. That's all they said. And then I was just like, dude, holy shit. Like, you want to try again? Like, no way. I feel like I have the flu. Like, I feel so fucking sick. But then I was like, yeah, I'll just wait a minute. And then we deadlifted and other shit, which is probably stupid. But I wasn't going to miss a chance to train with those guys. But that was my first time. The second time was trying to deadlift 600 pounds, 300 a hand in farmers. And it was the first time ever even trying that. And I locked it out, and I got dizzy and just, like, felt melted to the turf. That was it. But, yeah.
Well, now thinking about it, I also have almost passed out overhead pressing, but I didn't
Way more common than you think.
Yeah, I didn't. That's even scarier than, obviously, because you got that weight above your head.
Oh, it sucks. Yeah.
But
Do you remember, Mike, when you missed that and I said, I'll take your max with no warm-up on the log?
I think it's still on your Instagram.
And I did it. I said, I'll take your max with no warm-up.
It was,
It was not even a good press.
no, they wasn't even a heavy weight.
It was like 230 or something like that.
I think it was like 225, 215.
I was just sitting in my office. He's like, well, dude, you're up. I missed. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, he was like, I was so fucked up. Like,
And then he came back and got it. Look at that fucking motivation.
Yeah, I was pissed.
See, you treat people like shit, and then it gets them motivated.
I was pissed. That actually was a really big, an eye opener though, to doing some of the things in the sport when I was training here, and when I first started training in that sport, and taking guidance from you, even though you have never like trained in the sport, but you just knew the how how the movements worked and how how to effectively do it more athletically. And I didn't listen to you for a long time. I was wearing the wrong shoes, I was doing the wrong shit, and I was like, no, because I see guys do this, that, and the other, and I'm trying to emulate, which was my problem. And then I started wearing just athletic flat shoes and getting my hips engaged on the log press and being more patient, not being crazy and doing ammonia before I log press every time. And I fixed it, right? I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, I was lucky enough to meet a lot of cool people and train a lot of different ways and learn from all those people. And most
you could
movements,
like pick it up. You just look at it like, oh yeah, that's fucked up. That's wrong.
yeah, and most movements are very similar, no matter what your strength sport is.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
A push press is a push press, whether you're using a log or
a barbell.
a barbell. It doesn't
yeah.
really matter.
Well, the thing is with the story, I don't know, like we got to explain that, right? So I'm trying to push press this log, and I'm missing it. I can't fucking lock it out, and I try it like 3, 4, or 5 times.
Yeah.
And then I asked Brett I was like, well, I guess you're going to try it. No warm up, gets off his fucking ass from the computer, walks out there, basically curls the log to his chest
That
and
was
presses
bad.
it
My
over.
fucking bicep didn't hurt for so long.
I was like, what the fuck, dude? And yeah, but that was motivation.
And he came back and got it right after
I
that.
did, that same day.
And I think he actually went up a little bit.
Yeah, and then I went again. Yep, but I was just pissed.
Yeah. But, I mean, we kind of spiraled on that. But, yeah, as
So-
far as deadlifting, you're either got your belt too tight, you're holding your breath for too long. Sometimes it could be you're too overstimulated. You know what I mean? That can happen also.
Yeah.
Too much caffeine, something's got you too stimulated.
Ooh, Tanner's pass out story's good too. Deadlifting.
Yeah, there's been a few of those. Not just from him, from a lot of people.
Yeah.
I
I'm
remember,
surprised that you've never passed out hard though. I mean, it seems.
No, I probably just don't push myself.
If you deadlift once a month and it still goes up, why would you?
I remember being in here one morning, and I just hear like a fucking body hit the floor. I don't know if you were in here.
Like early?
Yeah,
Like
me and Bill were in here. One of the OG guys here,
Oh man.
and I walk around the corner, and this fucking kid's like, "Oh yeah, no, I tripped over this band peg," and I looked at the cameras because we have cameras. This fucking kid just passed out, and Bill and I were like, "There's no fucking way that kid just
No
tripped."
shit.
Dude, he's like deadlifting, just fucking hit the fucking
I
ground.
remember I wasn't here, but I remember I came in and I had just missed it.
Yeah, because we were like, "There's no fucking way."
I miss Bill.
The kid was weird, like lurky too. I was like,
I
good
just
for
tripped
him.
on a band peg, dude. It'd be way cooler if like I just passed out. Like that's.
Oh yeah, he fucking totally passed out because I watched the camera and Bill and I were just laughing, dude.
I wish you still had that.
Yeah, there's been some good. I've saved a few over the years
Have you really?
of people. They know I have them though. It's not like I'm some fucking creeper.
That's
They know
awesome.
I have them.
Did you have the video of John blasting your TV with a yoke?
Yeah, I sent it to him, and I was like, "Hey man, I assume you don't know." So here's the story. I just hung up. So for the Ed Cohen meet, we put on the best powerlifting meet there is, by the way, if
Yes,
you're ever
sir.
wondering. As far as we have the best lifter setup, we have the best spectator setup. So I'm hanging up this 75-inch TV in the gym that's gonna have the numbers on it because we run lifting casts while the fucking spectators can see what's lifting. I have 2 other TVs that live stream the actual lift so spectators who maybe can't see the platform can see it. I just hang up this fucking TV. Me and Coach X hang up the fucking TV.
I miss him too.
This
Where's
guy,
he been, by the way?
I don't know. He's shooting today. This guy, who's a newer trainer at the gym, is running the yoke, just fucking smokes the TV
With the upright on the yoke.
with the upright on the yoke. He's got headphones on. This TV hasn't been hung up for fucking 3 hours. This kid comes up front.
That was the same. I didn't know it was the same.
I think it was the same day. If not, it was like the next day. I mean, it had not been. It was not 24 hours for sure.
That's great.
This fucking kid comes up front. He's like, "Hey man, that TV you hung up is like all fucked up now." And I was like, "I'm like, what?" I walk back. There's just a fucking gouge in the TV.
Oh fuck.
But John's good people. He fucking
He's great. He's the one that's going to be hosting.
He took care of it. He paid for it. Yeah, he's also in charge of the strongman meet we're hosting here October 14th, I believe it is.
14th, same day as Worlds.
He does it as a fundraiser or Elder Worlds that
Elder Worlds in
that
Arizona.
Tanner's doing.
Yeah.
It's for a nonprofit.
QRF.
QRF. Do you know what that stands for?
I believe it's Quick Reaction Fitness. It's a playoff of Quick Reaction Force, a military team.
So does this all go to military? Is it first responders?
Yeah, actually, it's really cool. It's so the veteran. He's really supporting the veteran community.
Him
He's
being a former Marine.
former Marine, yeah, and he has a Ranger buddy that they started this. It's not even a company; it's an organization with, where you can go to QRFFitness.com, and if that's not right, just Google QRF Fitness. But the whole point is, it's everything that gets donated to the organization goes towards gym fees and anything to do with health and fitness if veterans don't have the money and they want to have a gym membership, right? So to come to Omaha Barbell, maybe there's a guy that's financially tight, looking for a job after he gets out of the military, which is very, very common, and they want to train here because they're used to this type of community in the military, and they like these people, and they want to train here and not at a commercial gym. We'll pay for that veteran to train here. That's what it is. And
I
then,
know he's told me, and I couldn't remember what all it was.
and then the other thing is if they're traveling, right? These guys go TDY all the time that are active duty, for example, and they're trying to find a gym, right? It doesn't have to be a powerlifting gym, but it could be any gym. And they have like a reserve of cash to, somebody could say, hey, I'm traveling to, Arizona. I'm going to go to this gym and it's $30. Can I get $30 for a day pass, right? They'll pay for that shit. So it's a really cool thing. It's not, it's totally nonprofit. They don't make any fucking money. He's just supporting the community. He's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool.
Very cool. And it's on Iron Podium.
It is on Iron
is the
Podium.
website where you can sign up for it at.
Yep.
I believe it's October 14th. We're hosting it. I don't really have much to do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, John's kind of running the whole thing. I don't know if you're helping out. I know Tanner was kind of helping him out with some stuff.
Yeah, I was
But
thinking.
Tanner's competing that weekend.
Yeah, he's going to Worlds, and I don't know. Like, I was either going to compete and help or just help, but I wasn't going to compete here to like win or anything. I just want more people in the sport here, and I think you have a good spot to get more people involved.
Yeah, and we want to kind of trial run it and hopefully maybe start building the Ed Cohen Classic into like an actual full-on sports festival.
The events are. I wish the events are really good, and
Yeah, I believe it's a push press row medley. So it's a push press with an axle, then a push press with a log, and then you have to hand over hand pull a weighted sled.
Yep, I'm going to pull up the events right now on Iron Podium.
That's the first event, and then I think the second event is a yoke run with a sandbag carry.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, so it's an axle push press into a log sled pull.
Yep.
Then a yoke and sandbag work, a bag for height, so a throwing event, which is always kind of a good break, an axle deadlift, and a stone over bar.
Yes.
So it's pretty.
And now I think he's talking about maybe adding a novice class. So if you've never done strongman and you're thinking about it, I mean, this will be a good low-key event to get into.
Oh yeah,
Just to try it out.
yeah.
I was joking around if I was under 275, I might not even train and just do it.
You should do it, man.
I know, but then I go in and then
Do you think about it? So look,
but then I win
you
everything,
never
and then it
get to-
turns into this
I'm
whole.
Here, no. I'm kind of okay. You always host the meets.
I didn't even warm up. Just come get me in my office.
You're always working your ass off to host the meets. Why? Maybe you could just be an athlete that day and go. Would you do it?
I think any promoter that competes in their own meet is not a good idea.
No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying is, but you could enjoy this without
Oh,
doing.
because we're not running it.
Yeah, exactly.
We might be doing something else that day as a test run
I know what you're talking about.
for the Edco and me to see if it's going to work out.
It'll
So-
work out.
Are we
So-
not giving that information to the audience?
No, yeah, we're gonna see. I got to make sure I got all my.
It relates to the podcast, though.
It does.
It
I'm
does.
gonna make sure I got my ducks in a row. You know.
Didn't we talk about this before, though? Your cardio level's at maximum of 10 feet.
That's
10
strongman,
feet
baby.
maximum?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking max effort at 10 feet.
But I'm not gonna like try to talk myself up. But I bet I'm still more athletic than a lot of strongmen out there.
Oh yeah, you are.
Because that's what makes people good strongmen. The athletic ones are the good ones.
Yeah, agreed.
That's what separates them. I have said from the beginning, Brian Benzel was one of the most athletic strongmen I've ever watched when he trained here. Because that dude could move fast.
Which also goes back into speed work. If you want to be more
Yes.
explosive, you have to be more
Absolutely.
Speed work
Yeah.
makes you more explosive / athletic.
Yeah. No, Benzel was super athletic. I mean, he was a walk-on long snapper in Nebraska. You know what I
I
mean?
didn't know that.
But I mean, for his size,
I do think that you would be fine. I really do.
the events are kind of light for 275, under 275.
They are light, but the intention is just to get people to go.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I just saw him this morning because someone else was asking me about him.
I don't actually. I remember they were light, but I'm curious. I mean, obviously you'd be fine. That I think the thing with if you were going to do anything and get ready for this thing at all, as you already know how to do all those events, they're pretty straightforward. You could spend 3 weeks of light conditioning, like HIT stuff, like under 10 minutes a day, and you'd be fine. You know, totally. You really could. I mean, you'd do great. I think it'd be really fun to watch you do it. You
Yeah.
should do it.
Why don't I get the other thing maybe?
True.
But that does kind of lead into our kind of last part we want to talk about, and talk about like, between owning the gym, putting on meets. I've learned a lot of things over the years. I've kind of helped John with some ideas on this. I mean, he's ran strongmans before. You work in customer service and
Yep.
sales.
Yep.
We don't talk about Chris's job, and that's okay. But he kind of does a weird form of customer service.
Well, it's community service.
Yeah, basically. And I've seen over the years, well, especially since COVID, customer service is super fucking terrible now.
Yeah,
A lot of
are lazy,
places.
dude.
They don't care. They don't want to help anybody out. Had an instance this week with a friend of mine was trying to do some things. He works for a college. He was trying to set up some things for the kids to do for some more training for their sport that they do. And the place just like didn't have any, like weirdly talked to him about it again. Didn't really have any
like care.
care
Yeah.
for it. And it's just like, I'm not saying you have to give a fuck about everybody, but he's trying to do something to make his team better. It might lead to a lot more business than you. He's got 30 kids on his team.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? And it's just people's approach to things. We see it a lot because we talk about it's bullets, barbells, and barbecue. We talk about guns. And I mean, I'll do it. I'll just shit on all of them. I don't care. Most people that work at gun places in Omaha, and I'm sure a lot of other places, there's
Just
some
in
good people out there
general,
I've
like,
met.
yeah.
But like 80% of them are just total fucking idiots.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have no business sense. They're all super fucking tactical. And the problem is like being tactical doesn't sell shit to people.
Being
You know,
intelligent in their craft does.
If I go into a place and I want to buy, I'll never forget, dude. I was in Cabela's, and I still love Cabela's. This is not on them. I went there to buy a gun. I was looking at a Springfield, talking to the guy selling it, former police officer, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think about Springfield?" First thing he says to me, "Well, it's not a Glock." That doesn't make me want to buy a gun from you.
Oh,
Don't tell me what your opinion is on Glocks. Just hey,
like
is this
walk
gun?
me through the
Yeah,
material.
is this gun a piece of shit? Like, what have other people said? Like,
Yeah,
you're
right.
supposed to be a gun knowledge guy, not like a fucking. I'm only going to tell you the opinion on like the gun I have because I don't give a fuck about any other gun out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
He could have said something like, "Well, I don't carry one, but we have a lot of people that come in here and buy them, and here's their opinion on it." There's a whole bunch of different ways you could have answered it that are serving you that information that you're looking for as a consumer, and not trying to bring you to be a fanboy of what he enjoys. And I think that that's unfortunate. I mean, What's going on? Do you have a fire call going on? I swear to God, I thought
Technical difficulties. We had-
Matt's radio was or your radio was going off, and you had a call or something to get to.
I thought I had a front desk person, but
187 on the motherfucking gangbanger.
but yeah, and like most of these gunplay, you could bring a lot of people in on these gun range things, or like Chris and I were talking earlier about taking like a gun training class. I don't have respect for most of those people. Just because you were in the military and did like a tour, I don't care. I mean, I respect you for the military, but I don't look at you and be like,
You must know everything about guns,
yes.
because they don't.
And you know what? Don't talk to me like I don't know anything about guns, because that doesn't make anybody feel like they want to buy something from you.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all bought guns. I mean, Chris is fairly knowledgeable in guns, but Chris also knows how to talk to people.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of finding out what people are looking for. If you come into a place, Brett and I were talking about this earlier. If you go into we've all been into some retail store to where we bought something that we didn't want to buy because we felt like we had to after talking to the person. Oh, he seems like a nice guy. I'll buy whatever they're peddling. But then afterwards, you're like, yeah, I really didn't really want what I got. I didn't go in for this. But you have to be honest with those people and tell them, hey, this is. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. They're out to try to sell stuff. Just say, hey, this isn't really what I'm looking for. This isn't what I want. And if you go to a place that tries to manipulate you in ways to buy things they want you to, that's not the place you want to buy stuff from anyway.
In that salesperson's defense, like we talked about also, tell them early. Don't let the local gun store guy go through you an entire sales pitch on a gun, and then you're like, well, no, I don't want this at all.
Just stop them. Like, no, this is for home defense or whatever.
No, this isn't what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
But they also need to, be honest with you. Like we were talking about, I have a foregrip on my AR. I think I paid like $20 from, on Amazon. It's got a bipod that ejects out of it. Mm-hmm. But if I go into a gun store, I'm like, oh, you gotta buy this fucking $400 one
Because it works in a blizzard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no, dude.
We've jumped out of airplanes with this, and we know it's
yeah,
gonna
right.
last. These are jump approved.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I was airborne.
yeah,
it was covered in blood and it's still ejected.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
stupid.
dude, you missed the part I told you. I shoot this AR like once a year
In my backyard.
in my backyard. I live on a farm, and I just want a fucking
Yeah, right.
bipod just in case.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing, but it's a two-way street. And it's sad because I see a lot of people who have very good businesses of what they do, but they're really bad business people.
Well, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that at first, like people just taking advantage of the other people that are uneducated in.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time
Yeah.
too. Oh, look at this! I walked out here with fucking a $10,000
Well, I
fucking
saw-
AR. Look at this thing.
That's the exact same thing we were talking about last week with nutrition stores and
Yeah.
It is the
yeah,
same thing.
it's the same kind of
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah,
I
You know,
saw
and
this
like
guy,
people
there's
shit
this
on high
girl.
points. But you know what? If you've never had a gun before,
Yeah.
and you buy, you know what though? If you don't know if you're going to get into gun, you buy a high point. You know what? You're going to pull the trigger and a bullet's going to come out of it.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I
don't wanna get
they're
shot
pretty
with that
reliable.
or
They're
anything.
pretty
Yeah, you know what I
reliable.
mean? Like for the most part, like you can sit there and shit on it all you want to, but like, hey, it's this person's first gun. They don't know anything. They just want something to try, and then like they
Thanks
can
for
do.
joining. Thanks for joining the club. Thanks for buying a gun.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah,
they
seriously.
can learn
Yeah.
on their. They can learn on their own. That it's not like, well, it's your first gun. I'd probably get a Staccato.
No, that's what I.
You
That's
know what I
dude,
mean? We
saw this
fucking get
lady-
in.
I saw this lady, and it also just so happens to be in Cabela's, even though I do like Cabela's, but it's very close to my house. Actually, closer to my house than it is Brett's house.
By like a fucking inch
But we've
on
done,
the map.
We've done the math. So there was this. I was just window shopping, and there was a lady in there with her husband and like maybe her parents. Like it was like they just decided it would be cute and fun to go gun shopping because they talked about it. And the guy's like, "Do you have concealed carry? What's this for?" And she's like, my husband travels for work, and I just want something in the house, and we don't have kids, and I feel more comfortable, all that stuff, right? It was really normal, right? It was really normal, like not an everyday carry person, EDC person. It was just, I just want something in the house just in case because, John Doe travels. And the guy's like, okay, well, have you ever shot a gun before? No. All right, do you want a shotgun or a pistol? She's like, that's why I'm here. right? I don't know what I need, and I'm asking. And her husband didn't have any guidance either, right? Which, people are just they're either in that community or not, or they care or not, and there's no fault. They just don't know. But that's why they're asking questions and shopping and talking to the air quotes gun professional.
Well,
in
and
the store.
and my thing on that is like, you as a gun professional, air quotes, like we've been doing. I see this woman talking to me, and she was like, the question of a shotgun or pistol would have never came to my head because I'm going to look at the size of this person and be like, she does not want to swing a
Exactly.
shotgun around.
Exactly.
That's probably going to, like, the recoil is probably going to drive her backwards.
Yep.
I'm going to say, how about this, like, 22 pistol or this 380 that's got, the kickback's not bad. It'll fit in your hand well. Even a nice 9mm
Yep.
pistol.
Smith & Wesson Easy 380.
Yeah. But the fact that you even asked that question. Oh, you think you want a shotgun? Who the fuck, as a woman for home defense, wants a shotgun?
Yep.
I don't even want to shoot a shotgun in my house.
So So what she ended up buying is a 357 Magnum.
That's a terrible idea. Also,
Isn't
that's
that
gonna hit her right in the fucking face when she
no?
shoots it.
Isn't that the craziest thing?
A
Because-
revolver?
Yeah. I'm serious.
Hopefully it shoots 38 also.
Okay, I'm not trying to be mean. What
She's
was she?
38.
Was she a big girl?
No,
Oh man,
she was probably in her 40s, very normal looking.
That's also sounds like somebody taking advantage of somebody.
That's what I mean, man.
That's
Is
buying.
we just got this new limited edition with ivory grips on it.
Well,
it's
here-
$3,000. You should.
he's
get
like he's showing her a range of. It ends up going to pistols, and there's a range of pistols on the countertop. There's like is it a LCP 9, that little Ruger, right? That little like pocket carry piece.
Yep.
And
not a
it
good gun for that either.
kind of no, it's not. But it's kind of going up, and there's like a Glock 19, and there's like a couple like those XDMs, that have like all this stuff that comes with it, and then there's this Magnum. He was comparing like this is kind of like here's a list of a category that we can go through, and she said that one looks awesome. Like the 357 Magnum just said that one looks awesome, and the husband's like, dude, that is awesome, and the guy's like, oh, it is awesome, like because it does this, that, and the other, and it has this much impact, blah blah blah, and they're like, we need that, instead of saying it is awesome, impractical though, right?
Yeah, for what you need.
Yeah.
Let's get you into this, this XDM or this
Never
whatever.
shot
You know
a
what I
gun
mean?
before.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That
I think you
sucks.
also have to be a good consumer, though. You want to do a little research maybe before you show up, so you're not getting household.
Yeah, that could have been drinking. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, because there's that video on YouTube, I think, of that guy. He's in a gun range, and I don't know if you guys have seen this. He's holding it's either a 44 Magnum or a 357. And he's like, all right, what you want to do is you want to hold on, get a good tight
yeah.
grip on it. Boom! And he like barks a round off, and it smacks him right in the mouth. And he's like, do you mean to do that? Yep. All right. So anyway, like I was saying, that's what's going to happen when those people shoot that gun the first time. They're going to get smacked in the mouth by that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, know a little bit what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like a simple Google of like best home defense guns for a female. Or,
that
you know what I
is
mean? Like just
true.
whatever you're looking
Yeah.
for. But dude, that's just customer service everywhere. There's a company we've dealt with before, and I tried to get them set up with a sponsorship with Drew Dober when he was in town. I was like, hey man, you should just hook him up with product.
Can you say who it is?
No, I'm not going to,
Okay.
because they're good people, but they're good at what they do, but maybe not good at the business end of it.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, yeah.
And I was like, hey, hook him up with some product. He could just fucking post about it.
Sure.
Wasn't catching it.
Yeah.
Would it cost them maybe $50 a month to have someone who's got 100,000 plus followers,
Yeah.
who's from Nebraska, talk about their stuff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that people miss the boat. Sometimes you have to give away money to make money.
Yeah, the whole thing, I know that this is kind of cross-referencing industries, right? But I do work for the federal government and involved in technology sales. And what I found that is, and you do this too, Brett, what I found is servicing people and trying to sell them all the time is the best way to make money, right? And it's, really truly helping them out and building a relationship. Not thinking about making money, but again, it just works out because you're being a good dude, right? And you're not trying to rake somebody over the coals about.
Well, and if you're honest with them, maybe you're only going to get, $100 sale this month. But if you're honest with them, and you're always honest with them,
over time.
maybe now you're going to get 6 $100 sales from them in the future,
Yeah.
and then they're going to tell, more people because, bad press travels way faster than good press does.
Oh yeah.
Just like that thing with the gun those people bought. They bought a 357. They're going to go to the gun range. They're going to shoot. They're going to be like, this thing sucks.
Dude, that thing was
this thing
fucking
looks
awesome.
fucking cool, but man, we don't know we have no idea what we're doing here. And so they're going to tell everybody, oh, don't go buy. If you're new to buying guns, don't go to Cabela's. They'll just sell you the most expensive
Yeah,
thing
exactly,
in the case.
man. Yeah. I don't even
You
know
know-
what that gun ran, actually. I don't even
It was probably went cheap. If it was
No, I do know it was not. It was over $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
So-
assume if it's a revolver and it's
Yeah.
a 357.
Yeah, it was over $1,000.
So then they're obviously not going to want to go back to Cabela's and buy a gun. They're probably going to go somewhere else. And then, same kind of thing. If you are unhappy with something, you need to tell somebody like, oh, man, this kind of sucked. Because I'm sure the person who's selling you something would rather, if they care about what they do and what they're selling, would rather you say, this thing sucks. I
It-
should have got something else, instead of you going out and telling 15 people that it sucks.
Well, and there's always going to be people that aren't going to like you. I mean, that's what, you're never going to beat that. There's always going to be people that are going to talk shit about your business, whatever.
Does everybody know what he does?
No one does because we don't talk about it.
It's a secret.
But the thing
I
is,
have a good question.
I did like a business class with Rob Bailey, and Rob Bailey's an interesting guy. He owns Flag Nor Fail. Dana Bailey is his wife, whatever. And he's had a couple things, a couple sayings. One is always under promise and over deliver, because people always remember that. And treat people like you give a fuck, and they'll always come back. Even if you don't know that person, you don't necessarily have to give a fuck about that person, but give a fuck what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
or what they want help with, or what they're trying to buy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially if you're deemed as the expert in the room and they're coming there to be served, and why would you, if somebody's there in your presence and they're there for that reason, to let's just cut out all the other shit, to buy something from you, why would you lead with being a jerk? Right? Why?
Yeah.
Why? And I know people that do that. Even in my career, I see people do that because they just want to be right or in control of something. It's insane to me.
And everybody's has an opinion or has their favorites on something. And Chris and I were talking about before we started, back to the shooting range and the tactical guys, and hey, I want to deck out this AR. Okay, well, what do you have? Well, I have this and this, but you don't need that. You could get this version of it. Now, if that person's like, no, I want to get exactly what you have. Okay, but you still gave them the option.
Yeah.
To say, hey, I'm shooting this Daniel Defense AR. I paid fucking $2,000 for this thing new, but hey, why didn't you start with an M&P, AR, and then
Those sport ones are pretty sick.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You know what? You pull the trigger, a bullet still comes out.
Yeah.
You
And
can
they
deck
are
it out
cheap.
the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then once you get you're shooting it all the time, and maybe you're starting to do some 3-gun with it, or you want something better, you know what? Then come talk to me, and because now you know what? You're going to sell that dude 2 guns. Because he's going to buy that M&P from you. You're going to help him set it up. And then he's going to be like, you know what? I want to fucking...
I would feel responsible that I had to clean a Daniel Defense, and I don't want to clean an M&P.
Dude, prime example, I bought my bow fishing bow at Shields. Funny enough, this guy's name is Brett, and he has red hair, and he works in the archery department.
Great.
Yes. But that dude hooked me up. He's like, dude, don't buy this. He's like, here's the bow I use. I use this bow, this reel. And then he goes, because when you can snap fish with a bow, it's a compound bow fishing bow, so you don't have to full draw and wait for the cams to release. You can just go. And a lot of people will put little finger grips on it. He's like, dude, no. He's like, we're gonna use some rubber from a peep sight, put it on there. He's like,
Nice.
you don't need that. He's like, buy this and this. He was like, it works way better. This is what I use.
For a fraction of the cost, right?
Dude, anybody I told to go to Shields, I'm always like, dude, talk to Brett in the archery department. That dude fucking will take
Is
care
he
of
still
you.
there?
I assume so.
He was there. We were there, a couple months ago he was there.
Yeah. And I told
So
Chris the same
shout
thing.
out Brett at
Yeah,
the
for
archery
real. And I
department.
told Chris when we were there, I go, dude, that guy will fucking take care of you. And actually, the Shields archery department's really good. They set Amber up on her bow. But yeah, so just that little bit, that dude took care of me. So when Derek and I were going up to his cabin, I was like, dude, stop at Shields if you're going to get stuff. They hooked him up on his bow, too.
Did you go to the cabin for the last time?
That was
It
last
was
year.
last time,
so-
this time.
It was middle last time.
Last time, this
The
time.
last time last year, this time, but last year.
It's the last time of this time, this time,
Yeah,
this year, this time.
middle.
But the first time last year.
First time of this time, but last time.
Yeah, it was the middle, yeah.
Yeah.
But
The middle
yeah,
time.
but you
I
know,
mean,
that just
that
shows
time.
that customer service like that. Well, I'll send people there.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
exactly the
This
point.
just happened. So I'm leaving the gym this morning, and Tanner's pulling in, And I was texting with the group.
Oh,
of
hey,
guys,
flashback to last week. Remember when I said Mike will not go to Tanner's store after this? He didn't.
But I went yesterday.
He did. And he could have bought the supplements for me, but it's fine.
Did you have it all? Do you have the homemade here? The homemade shit was good as fuck.
Oh, no.
The protein, oh good lord.
I have the Max Pro.
No, the homemade shit, man, it was awesome. But but again, that happened today. We had Tanner on here last week, and there's a guy that's kind of getting more involved here at the gym, training and taking care of himself. And he said, "Hey, I listened to that podcast, and you go talk to Tanner, right?" And I had told Tanner on the way out, such and such is going to come see you today. Super cool. He said, "Hey, let me know what the guy's name is. I'll hook him up." But he's doing that because Tanner loves, he's advocate for his business. He wants to take care of people. He loves the sport, right? He wants to get more people involved in the sport and be healthy and take care of himself to compete or to train or whatever. And what's going to happen to the guy that says, "Hey, I'm going to go out there"? He's going to tell another guy that says, "This guy, he competes. He's really intelligent. He knows what he's talking about from my gym. Go talk to him." It's going to happen tenfold, right? All the time. You got guys coming in here all the time that are just like, "Oh, my buddy told me," I assume, right? "My buddy told me about this gym."
Yeah, we always try to keep it the same way. Like, I mean, there's plenty of people probably think I'm an asshole, but I'm always going to be the same to everybody.
There are, actually.
Yeah, and that's fine. But I'm always going to tell everybody the same thing. And I've said that forever. If you don't want an honest answer, don't fucking ask somebody. Because almost anybody here will give you an honest answer, and then you'll be like, "That guy's a fucking asshole." And then be like, "Well, maybe you should self-examine."
I think that's a big problem with society today is everyone's afraid to be honest with each other.
Yeah,
Because nobody wants their fucking feelings hurt. Right?
everybody wants to hear the truth until you tell them, and then you're an
and
asshole.
you're like, "Oh, I can't believe you said that to me." Well, you asked me what.
And no one's
I
ever
really
thanked
thought.
you for, "Hey, thanks for being honest with me."
When I came here, I would always ask Brett, "How'd that deadlift look?" He'd be like, "That looked like shit." I'm like, "Oh." I obviously didn't get my feelings hurt by it, but I could see how other people would get their feelings
I'll
hurt.
train
by it.
somewhere else, and they'll tell me it looks better.
Fuck dude told me it looked like what's that guy now? He only owns a
I mean, he
fucking,
did quit
like,
the gym, though, I guess.
one
So.
of the best powerlifting gyms in the
Yeah,
state.
you know what? You're right.
it's
You're
not like
putting
he
him-
knows what he
you're-
talks about.
You're putting a mask on this.
Shut
whole
up.
thing. You did. So
Oh.
how long after he critiqued you did you actually quit the gym?
I stayed here for another year after that.
Oh, that's
Then he started his job, and then he
Then I had to go, then I left and started my own little.
when's the last time you actually
Basement.
trained here?
it was before you started your job, right?
2014, like 2015, 2015.
Well, you can tell the gains went
2014.
away.
Boy,
Mhm.
do
Yeah.
you want to train here like Friday morning with me or something?
Why do you want me to come train here with you Friday morning?
I train Friday mornings.
Yeah, I see him.
I don't want to have to show up here and show you up, Mike. You've been training all these years, do all that stuff.
He's
then
fine with
come
that. I
in
did it to
here
him when he was long pressing.
Just show up here, just hop out of the Kia and just come in here and rep your max. Then I'll just
That challenge accepted. That's
I
good.
don't even know how you can make it here with that Kia with fucking just the chicks probably swarming you.
It's like a zombie apocalypse.
it is pretty tough. I will have to.
Yeah,
admit,
fucking
man.
just
It's
chicks
like-
everywhere.
Yes.
Did you see that fucking Kia zoom by?
Oh my god!
I slipped on my heels.
Fucking, that Kia, he's probably going to get serviced.
After a race war last night.
Oh man, I think we covered a lot of stuff though. I think with
Yeah, titty milk probably got weird, but it's a
A little
really
bit
interesting
off
topic.
subject. Good story here though, real quick before we
Yeah, hit
end
me.
the podcast.
I like that.
Mike brought some McDonald's in, and then I, right after he was telling that story about how he almost passed out that log press, the whole time he was telling that story, I'm sitting here like, I hope he brings this in soon because I got to shit so bad right now. After eating these 2 McDoubles here, I'm just really like, all right, yep, cool. Oh, Mike almost, got to go.
I storytell
went
for
in-
my career,
went in
and
there
that's
and-
probably part of the problem.
So I had to go in there and blast real quick. Then I came back, I guess everybody's got one on deck right now for the.
I mean, I had to pee like a fucking
I
wildfire.
took my
Yeah.
man. I took my.
And there was an emergency phone call that Brett had to take then.
Yeah,
I took
apparently.
my emergency shit right before this, right after eating 3 of those things, and it sounded like the milk frother in the cappuccino machine is when I farted in the toilet. It was
I've been
really
taking my
That's
greens.
amazing.
I'm basically health now.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, from Tanner. Well, I bought it over there from
You did?
here. Yeah, no,
Oh,
because I
nice.
sell supplements. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah,
So if anybody,
fucking asshole.
if anybody heard the Omaha Barbell voicemail in the background, Brett had to get up twice and to move to the desk to shut that off, which is approximately probably 6 feet away.
They know.
And then when he came back, he looked at us all like he was fighting for his life because he was
I had to push the mic away so I can fucking breathe.
he's battling for his life over there.
Yeah,
You
but-
can't have one of these episodes without a shit story. Not one.
That's
so,
all
like
right.
I said, max effort, 10 feet.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you need.
I had Taco Bell last weekend. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any problems. I stayed with the chicken though.
Yeah.
Man, I still get
But I got the chicken chalupas, and then he comes with the taco, and there was like 3 fucking pieces of chicken on that taco.
That's it.
Do you
Yeah.
also get a chicken taco?
No, I got chicken quesadilla.
I thought it's a chalupa.
No, I got the chicken chalupa meal comes with a chicken taco. Or we can get beef, but
Yeah,
the
I
beef
always
is
get beef.
disgusting.
It's it
It's
is.
like a bag of beef.
It's gross.
Yeah.
It's like curdled beef bouillon.
Yeah, it's like lips and assholes. It's like hot dogs.
Hot dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. But
That was
yeah.
fun.
Other than that, and I forgot, this episode is always sponsored by Omaha Barbell, the real Midwest Mecca.
And McDonald's.
The
Yeah.
real Midwest.
Yeah, the real. I have to put the real because I got in trouble when I just said Midwest Mecca before. Somebody else thought they were, but they clearly aren't.
Is it the same person that invented 1810 bare knuckle boxing belts?
No, nope. Different.
I don't think King George was offended.
Yeah, I got different haters from all over town. But, hate us because they ain't us, I guess.
Heinous because they Angus.
But we appreciate everybody listening. If you don't already, go subscribe to our podcast. We want all the downloads we can get because that's how we keep putting on these great podcasts to entertain the dozens that are listening. Go out there, follow us, give us a review. We do have our episodes on YouTube. We're working on the video. All the audio is also on YouTube at Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue on YouTube. But we appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you next week.